Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack the latest news in the mining industry. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Ashley.
Now, the 14th Oppenheimer Research Conference heard this week that Africa should collaborate to protect the planet.
Yes, so it's very good that they have these conferences every year, because you want Africa to really also do its bit with research and development when it comes to what's happening to the planet through climate change. And I must say, they were very vociferous at the Oppenheimer meeting this 14th time, just north of Johannesburg here. And I think if anything can really unite South Africa, it could be this whole issue of the impact of climate change on the continent. Because, as the story goes, we've done the least to actually change the climate, but we're being hit the most. And so the scientists there are working really in incredible ways across a very broad front. And policymakers are also there, and it's oversubscribed. I mean, a lot more people want to come that can be there, and you hear voices from all over Africa. And I think calling on Africa to collaborate, to align, could be something that happens. Africa needs to unite more. This could really be something around which they unite and start a whole united pattern. And we saw the policy people there egging the whole continent on to get behind an alignment on fighting climate change. And they were even talking about, do we know when our rivers go into the Indian Ocean, are they killing the fish? I mean, are we also doing our job? People were saying that when you go past trees, that not even the trees look as though they're breathing properly anymore. So it is a time for action. And I think the call was made strongly, and I hope it's heard.
Now, Botswana and Angola are seeking an interest in De Beers. What opportunities does this present?
They're doing this at a time of quite a lot of problems in the diamond mining industry. The diamond mining industry is fairly disrupted. And what was called for by a person who, I think he's 90 years old, Martin Marriott, a person who was around when diamond mining and diamond marketing was strong, and it was coordinated, and it was disciplined on the basis that diamonds aren't an essential food or something like that. So if you are going to present them to the market, it's no good having to do that at a loss. These are sparkling things that people want. So what was done in the past was that you would have a central selling organization. So if demand was not there, they would hold on to the diamonds. And when demand was there, they would put the diamonds on the market, which makes a lot of sense. And because they did this, they had quite a lot of cash to market. They used to market those diamonds brilliantly. We still know all the slogans of diamonds are forever. And so what they're saying is, let's get back to those strengths. Instead of being so disrupted that we're all doing things in the diamond industry on our own, let us look at the bigger picture, and perhaps we can start with what we see wanted by Botswana, something new, Angola wanting something new. Let that be the sort of platform on which we could try and bring back these old strengths so that the diamond mining business can be viable again, particularly because of lab diamonds as well. So there are all sorts of things on the horizon that point to collective working again. And we know that the whole world used to combine in those days with no problem. So perhaps it can return.
And lastly, South Africa is being urged to revive ferroalloy smelters and to replace ideology with pragmatism.
Yes, this was interesting that at the Joburg and Durban, there were two different discussions taking place, but it was in the same panel. So the questioner was asking people in the same panel, these questions. So you had one party saying, look, let's get rid of ideology and let's go for pragmatism. And if the demand for our products comes from the east, let's go east. If the demand for the products comes from the west, let's go west. If it's north, let's go north. Let's be pragmatic about it, less ideological. At the same time, that pragmatism perhaps could also apply when you try and get back to these smelters. We've got 57 furnaces lying idle that could be returned to duty with some clever thinking and maybe some pragmatism as well, because what is holding back these ferroalloy smelters, ferrochrome smelters, ferromanganese smelters, is the price of electricity. So, the state has damaged that situation. It's created electricity price. But the private sector has also come through now with a way of smelting that uses 70% less electricity, and this is proven. But there's not enough capital around to actually invest in that, so there's a bit of a reluctance. But at the same time, when we recall what happened with aluminium, the aluminium got going in South Africa, not because we had bauxite. We don't have bauxite but it was because the electricity price was so low. But there was also a reluctance to put in capital, like there is now reluctance to put in capital on a better technology which can lower your use of electricity and need for electricity. And perhaps what they did, to get those aluminium plants going is there was a pragmatism. The state decided, look, we'll let you write off that tax write-off in 1 year, and instead of 4 years. And so that had people happy to put capital in. So some sort of incentive like that can get us going, because to just leave so many smelters idled like that, I think, is really unfortunate. And if we can do something pragmatic, get rid of some of what they call the ideology, but also make sure that those jobs, I think there were 200,000 people employed at one stage because of what we were doing. And it's 5 times the value normal of your raw material. So, when you do that, you're getting 5 times the value, but you do need that power price to come down. And as we know, we can generate our own power now as well, which would help. Plus, get a system that doesn't need as much power, but it's still needing a bit of an incentive to get people prepared to put capital expenditure in. So we hope something comes of it.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
Thanks, Ashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.